How did a single envelope on my kitchen table, the kind no wife ever expects to see, destroy everything I thought I could control? What really happens when the one you betrayed collects the proof, calls your bluff, and turns your world upside down in the most official way possible? Can I still say it was just a mistake? Or am I about to lose everything because of one night I keep telling myself I can explain? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The envelope sat on my kitchen table like a loaded gun. White, crisp, official. The kind that arrives by courier and changes everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how I got here, how one night of stupidity cost me everything I thought I could control. My name is Vesperine Rook, Vez to everyone who matters. At 34, I thought I had life figured out. Good job in HR, nice house in the suburbs, loving husband Nathan, and our 7-year-old daughter Amelia. Perfect on paper. But perfect gets boring, doesn't it? The morning after the work conference, I stumbled into our kitchen with a pounding headache and guilt eating at my stomach like acid. Nathan was already up, making coffee in that methodical way of his. Same routine for 10 years of marriage. Pour water, measure grounds, press start. Never deviated. Morning, I mumbled, avoiding his eyes. How was the trip? His voice was neutral, but something felt different, sharper. Fine. Boring meetings, you know how it is. I poured myself coffee with shaking hands. Jet lag's killing me. Nathan looked up from his newspaper. Jet lag? Vez, you were in Chicago. That's one time zone. Heat flushed my cheeks. I meant, tired from all the networking. Late nights, early mornings. He nodded slowly, those dark eyes studying my face like he was memorizing it. Nathan had always been observant. It's what made him good at his accounting job. Numbers don't lie, he'd say. People do, but numbers don't. Amelia bounced into the kitchen, backpack already on. Mummy, you're back. Did you bring me anything? My heart clenched. Of course, sweetheart. I'd completely forgotten. It's still in my suitcase. I'll get it later. Where were you yesterday? She asked, tilting her head. Daddy said you were coming home, but you didn't call. Another lie. I'd been too busy trying to sneak out of Bryce's hotel room without being seen. The flight was delayed, baby. You know how airports are. Nathan's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. He knew I'd driven to Chicago. We'd discussed it specifically because I hate flying. My phone buzzed. A text from my work friend Karina. Girl, you disappeared last night. Hope you had fun with the boss man. I quickly deleted it, but not before Nathan's eyes flicked to my screen. My stomach dropped. Who was that? He asked casually. Just work stuff. Karina being Karina. I forced a laugh. You know how she is. The school bus honked outside. Amelia grabbed her lunch and kissed us both goodbye. As soon as the door closed, the kitchen fell silent except for the coffee maker's gurgling. Nathan folded his newspaper with precise creases. There's a charge on our credit card. Hotel bar, Tuesday night. $87. My mouth went dry. The company was paying for dinner, but the bar tab got mixed up. I'll expense it. At midnight? The question hung in the air like smoke. Nathan never raised his voice, never got dramatic. That's what made his quiet intensity so unnerving. Business dinners run late, I said, hating how defensive I sounded. You wouldn't understand. Your job doesn't require networking. It was a low blow, and we both knew it. Nathan made good money, but he'd always been insecure about not being the social butterfly I was. He stood up, rinsing his mug in the sink. I'm sure you're right. I don't understand a lot of things lately. The way he said it made my skin crawl, like he was filing away information, building a case. My mother called while Nathan was getting ready for work. Mom had always been my biggest supporter, sometimes to a fault. How was the conference, honey? Janice Feldman's voice was warm and familiar. Good, Mum. Productive. And how's Nathan treating you? You sounded stressed last time we talked. I glanced toward the stairs where Nathan was getting dressed. He's been distant lately. Cold. I feel like I can't do anything right. Men get like that, Mum said knowingly. Your father went through phases too. Nathan needs to appreciate what he has. You work hard, you're beautiful, you're a good mother. Don't let him make you feel small. Her words were a balm to my guilty conscience. Maybe I wasn't entirely wrong. Maybe Nathan's coldness had pushed me toward Bryce. Maybe this was as much his fault as mine. When Nathan came downstairs, he was wearing his navy suit, the one I'd bought him for Christmas. He looked good in it, handsome in that quiet, dependable way that had attracted me in college. I'll be late tonight, he said, not meeting my eyes. Client meeting. Okay. I wanted to ask more, but something in his tone warned me off. He paused at the door, hand on the knob. Vez? Yeah? If there's something you need to tell me, now would be the time. My heart hammered against my ribs. I don't know what you mean. He studied my face for a long moment, then nodded. Okay then. After he left, I sat alone in our kitchen, staring at my reflection in the coffee pot's chrome surface, distorted, unfamiliar. The woman looking back at me had made choices I wasn't ready to own. I thought about Tuesday night, the hotel bar, laughing at Bryce's stories, the way he'd leaned close, his hand on my knee, the elevator ride that felt like falling, his room key sliding into the lock, the morning after, sneaking out while he slept, driving home with my clothes wrinkled and my wedding ring feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds. It was just one night, one mistake. Nathan didn't have to know, and if he suspected, I could handle it. I'd been handling Nathan for 10 years. But as I sat there, scrolling through my phone and seeing 3 missed calls from Bryce, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. That Nathan's quiet questions weren't random, that the man I'd married was smarter than I'd given him credit for. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a voice whispered that maybe, just maybe, I was about to lose everything. The office felt different when I walked in Wednesday morning. Maybe it was paranoia, but conversation seemed to stop when I passed. Eyes followed me to my cubicle. Karina was waiting with coffee and that knowing smile she wore when she had gossip. So, she said, settling into the chair beside my desk, want to tell me about Tuesday night? What about it? I kept my voice light, but my hands were trembling as I logged into my computer. Oh, come on. You and Bryce Carraway disappeared from the hotel bar around 11. Neither of you were at breakfast. Do the math, girl. Bryce Carraway. Even his name sent a thrill through me. 42, married, effortlessly charismatic. The kind of man who commanded a room just by walking into it. Everything Nathan wasn't. We talked business, I said firmly. He needed help with the Henderson proposal. Karina laughed. Business, right. Is that what we're calling it now? Karina, stop. Nothing happened. But even as I said it, I could feel Bryce's hands on my skin, taste the whiskey on his lips, the way he'd whispered my name in the dark. I'm not judging, Karina said, lowering her voice. God knows your husband doesn't appreciate you. When's the last time Nathan took you anywhere nice? Bought you flowers? Hell, when's the last time he really looked at you? Her words hit their mark. Nathan had been distant lately, buried in work, going through the motions at home. We hadn't been intimate in months. I'd felt invisible, undesired. Bryce made me feel alive again. It's not about Nathan, I lied. Isn't it? Karina leaned closer. Vess, you deserve to be happy. You deserve to feel wanted. If Nathan can't give you that, maybe it's time to look elsewhere. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You looked cozy at the bar Tuesday night. Careful who's watching. My blood turned to ice. Karina, did you tell anyone about... About what? There's nothing to tell, right? Her smile was sharp now. Unless there's something you're not sharing with your best friend. I stared at the message, my mind racing. Who could have seen us? The bar had been nearly empty. We'd been careful. My phone rang. Nathan's name on the screen. "Hey," I answered, trying to sound normal. "Kellen called me," Nathan said without preamble. "He heard something weird about you at work, something about you and your boss." Kellen, Nathan's younger brother, who worked in marketing at a company that shared clients with ours. Of course, the rumors were spreading. "That's ridiculous," I said, aware that Karina was listening to every word. "Your brother loves drama. You know that." "I do know that. I also know he doesn't usually call me about office gossip unless he thinks it's serious." "Nathan, I can't control what people say. You know how offices are. Someone sees you talking to a male colleague, and suddenly you're having an affair." The word slipped out before I could stop it. Affair. Like I was testing how it sounded, how Nathan would react. "Is that what people are saying?" His voice was dangerously quiet. "I'm saying people talk. It doesn't mean anything." "Okay, I'll see you tonight." He hung up before I could respond. Karina was watching me with bright, curious eyes. "Trouble in paradise?" she asked. "Nathan's just paranoid. His brother filled his head with office gossip." Maybe Nathan should pay more attention to his wife instead of worrying about what other people think. I wanted to agree, to let Karina's words justify what I'd done. But the anonymous text message kept nagging at me. Someone knew. Someone was watching. The morning dragged by. I kept glancing toward Bryce's office, but his door stayed closed. Around lunch, I finally worked up the courage to walk past his window. He was on a conference call, gesturing with his hands the way he did when he was passionate about something. When he saw me, he smiled and held up one finger. "Wait." My heart raced. Maybe he wanted to talk about Tuesday night. Maybe he felt the same connection I did. Maybe this was the beginning of something real. But when his call ended and I knocked on his door, his expression was different, guarded. "Vess, come in, close the door." I did, my pulse quickening. "About the other night." "That's what I wanted to discuss." He leaned back in his chair, putting distance between us. "It was fun, but we need to be smart about this." Fun. The word hit me like a slap. Smart how? People are talking. Karina, for one, and apparently the rumors have reached outside the office. He straightened his tie, a gesture I'd found sexy Tuesday night but now seemed dismissive. "We work together, Vess. We're both married. It can't happen again." "But I thought—" "You thought what? That I was going to leave my wife for you?" His laugh was cold. "Vess, you're attractive and Tuesday was enjoyable, but let's not make it more complicated than it needs to be." The words cut deep. I'd spent 2 days replaying every moment, every touch, every whispered word. To him, it had been a distraction, a momentary lapse. "I see," I managed. "I hope you do. For both our sakes, we need to keep this professional going forward." I left his office feeling smaller than I had in years. The woman who'd felt so desirable, so alive in his arms, was just another conquest. Another mistake he wanted to forget. But if Bryce thought he could use me and discard me, he was wrong. I wasn't some naive intern. I was Vesperine Rook, and I didn't get dismissed that easily. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Karina kept making knowing comments, fishing for details I wasn't ready to share. My phone stayed mercifully quiet, no more anonymous messages. But when I got home, Nathan was waiting in the living room with Amelia's homework spread across the coffee table. He looked up when I entered, and something in his expression made me pause. "How was work?" he asked. "Fine, the usual." "Good, because I had an interesting conversation with my brother today." Amelia looked up from her math worksheet. "Uncle Kellen called. Can we see him this weekend?" "Maybe, sweetheart," Nathan said, not taking his eyes off me. "He had some concerns about your mother's job." "What kind of concerns?" I set down my purse, trying to appear casual. "The kind that make me wonder if I know my wife as well as I thought I did." The words hung between us like a challenge. Amelia sensed the tension and went back to her homework, but I could see her shoulders tense. I don't know what Kellen told you, I said carefully, but office gossip isn't worth discussing at home. Isn't it? Nathan stood up, moving to the window. Because according to him, it's not just gossip anymore. It's becoming a problem. For who? For our family. For our daughter. For me. He turned to face me, and I saw something I'd never seen before in Nathan's eyes. Not anger, something colder, more final. We need to talk, he said. Tonight, after Amelia goes to bed. Saturday morning brought the monthly family brunch at Miller's Cafe, a tradition I'd been dreading since Nathan's ominous words Wednesday night. Our talk had been postponed twice, Nathan claiming work emergencies, but I could feel his eyes on me constantly, watching, calculating. Joan Rook, Nathan's mother, was already seated when we arrived, 58 years old with steel-grey hair and sharper instincts than a detective. She'd never particularly liked me, though she'd been polite for Nathan's sake. Today her smile seemed forced. "Vesperine, dear," she said as we sat down. "You look tired. Work keeping you busy?" "Always," I replied, settling Amelia beside me. "You know how it is." "Actually, I don't. I've been hearing some interesting things about your work lately." Nathan shot his mother a warning look. "Mum." "What? I'm just making conversation." Joan's eyes were ice cold. "I ran into Margaret Henderson at the grocery store. Her husband works with some of your clients, Vesperine. Small world, isn't it?" My stomach dropped. The Henderson account, the one Bryce had supposedly needed help with Tuesday night. Our cover story was unraveling. "Mum's just worried," my mother Janice said, arriving with Karina in tow. I'd invited Karina hoping she'd help deflect attention, but now I wondered if that was a mistake. You know how mothers are. We hear rumors and assume the worst. "What rumors?" Joan asked pointedly. "Nothing worth repeating," I said quickly. "You know how officers are. People talk." "They certainly do," Joan replied, "especially when there's something worth talking about." Nathan was studying his menu like it contained state secrets. Kellen arrived just as the tension reached its peak, sliding into the booth with his usual energy. "Sorry, I'm late. Traffic was murder." He kissed Joan's cheek and nodded at Nathan. "How's everyone doing?" "We were just discussing Vesperine's work situation," Joan said. Kellen's expression shifted. "Ah, right." "What work situation?" Amelia asked, looking up from her coloring book. "Nothing, sweetheart," I said quickly. "Adult stuff." "Boring adult stuff," Karina added with a forced laugh, "like meetings and deadlines." "Is that what we're calling it?" Joan asked. The waitress appeared, saving us from immediate confrontation. We ordered in tense silence, Amelia the only one seemingly unaware of the undercurrents. When the waitress left, Janice jumped in. "I think people are being unfair to Vesperine. She works hard, she's dedicated to her job. If people want to gossip instead of focusing on their own lives, that says more about them than her." "Does it?" Joan's voice was sharp. "Because from where I sit, it looks like some people aren't taking their responsibilities seriously." "What responsibilities?" I asked, though I dreaded the answer. "To your family, to your marriage, to your daughter." "Mom," Nathan said quietly. "No, Nathan. Someone needs to say it." Joan leaned forward. "I've watched you become a shell of yourself these past few months. You're working late, avoiding family gatherings, barely speaking at home. And now I hear about hotel bars and late-night meetings and mysterious charges on credit cards." My face burned. Nathan had told her about the bar tab. "That was a work dinner," I said defensively. "At midnight, with your boss, while your husband was home taking care of your child." "Joan," Janice interjected, "you're making assumptions." "Am I? Because it seems pretty clear to me what's happening here." I felt cornered, attacked. The old pattern kicked in. When defensive, go on offense. "You know what's clear to me?" I said, my voice rising. "That my husband discusses our private business with his mother instead of talking to me directly. That he's so cold and distant at home that I have to find adult conversation elsewhere. That maybe if he paid half as much attention to his wife as he does to his spreadsheets, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The table went silent. Amelia's crayon stopped moving. Nathan's face was stone. That's right, I continued, emboldened by Karina's encouraging nod and my mother's supportive expression. Nathan works late every night. When's the last time we went on a date? When's the last time he bought me flowers or told me I looked pretty? I'm 34 years old, not dead. I deserve to feel appreciated. By your boss? Joan asked coldly. By anyone who bothers to notice I exist. Nathan stood up abruptly. I need some air. Sit down, I snapped. Don't walk away from me. Like you walked away from our marriage? The words hit like a physical blow. Around us, other diners were starting to stare. I didn't walk away from anything, I said, but my voice was shaking now. Didn't you? Nathan pulled out his phone, setting it on the table. Because this looks like walking away to me. On the screen was a photo, grainy, taken from across a hotel bar. Bryce and me, his hand on my thigh, my head thrown back in laughter. We looked intimate, guilty. Where did you get that? I whispered. Someone sent it to me, along with several others. My world tilted. Nathan, I can explain. Can you? Because I'd love to hear how you explain sneaking around with your married boss while I'm home with our daughter. Amelia was staring at us now, her eyes wide and confused. Other families were openly watching our drama unfold. This is not the place, I hissed. No, it's not. But then again, a hotel bar wasn't the place either, was it? Janice reached over and grabbed my hand. Honey, maybe we should go. Yes, Joan said icily. Maybe you should. Nathan was already standing, helping Amelia gather her things. Come on, sweetheart. Let's go home. What about Mummy? Amelia asked. Nathan's eyes met mine across the table. Mummy has some thinking to do. As they walked away, I felt the stares of every person in the restaurant. Karina was texting frantically, probably already spreading the story. Janice was making excuses to Joan, who wasn't listening. I sat there, humiliated and exposed, watching my husband and daughter leave without me, and for the first time since Tuesday night, I wondered if I'd made a mistake I couldn't talk my way out of. But then anger replaced shame. Nathan had embarrassed me publicly, aired our private business in front of both families. He'd made me look like a villain when he was the one who'd driven me away with his coldness. If he wanted a war, he'd get one. That night, I came home to find Nathan sitting at our kitchen table with papers spread in front of him. Not bills or work documents, something else. Something that made my stomach clench with dread. Amelia was already in bed, the house unnaturally quiet. Nathan looked up when I entered, his face unreadable. We need to talk, he said. I think you made your point pretty clear at brunch, I replied, hanging up my jacket with shaking hands. Did I? Because I'm not sure you understand the situation you've put us in. I sat across from him, noting the careful distance he maintained. What situation? You mean the one where you humiliated me in front of both our families? I mean the one where you're having an affair with your boss. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. No more dancing around it, no more implications. Just the truth, stark and unavoidable. I'm not having an affair, I said automatically. Nathan reached for one of the papers in front of him. Hotel keycard records. Your card accessed Bryce Carraway's room at 11:43 p.m. Tuesday night. You left at 6:17 a.m. Wednesday morning. My mouth went dry. How did you... Get these? I hired a private investigator, Vess. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? He slid another paper across the table. Phone records. 17 text messages to Bryce's personal number over the past month. Most of them after 10 p.m. Want to explain those? I stared at the evidence of my betrayal laid out like exhibits in a trial. Nathan, you don't understand. Then help me understand. Explain how my wife of 10 years ends up in another man's hotel room. Explain the late-night texts. Explain the lies. His voice was still calm, but I could see the pain underneath. The betrayal. For a moment, I almost told him the truth, that I'd felt lonely, neglected, invisible, that Bryce had made me feel desirable again, that it was just one night, one mistake. But then I remembered the restaurant, the way he'd exposed me in front of everyone. The humiliation burned fresh. You want to know why? I stood up, pacing to the window. Because you drove me to it, Nathan. When's the last time you touched me? Really touched me, not just going through the motions. When's the last time you looked at me like I was a woman instead of just Amelia's mother or the person who does your laundry? So this is my fault? Yes, no, I don't know. I spun around to face him. I felt invisible in my own marriage. Bryce saw me. He appreciated me. Appreciated you enough to sleep with you and then tell you it was a mistake. The words hit like a slap. How do you... Because I know men like Bryce Caraway, married, successful, used to taking what they want without consequences. Did you really think you were special to him? Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. At least he made me feel alive. At least he wanted me. I wanted you. I've always wanted you. But somewhere along the way, you decided that wasn't enough. Nathan gathered the papers, his movements careful and deliberate. I've been trying to figure out when you stopped being the woman I married. When you became someone who could lie to my face, who could betray our family, who could blame everyone else for her choices. I didn't mean for this to happen. But it did happen, and now we have to deal with the consequences. He stood up and I noticed the overnight bag by the door for the first time. Where are you going? To my mother's. I need space to think. You can't just leave. What about Amelia? What about her? You should have thought about our daughter before you got into bed with your boss. The cruelty of it took my breath away. Nathan, please. We can work through this. It was one night, one mistake. It doesn't have to destroy everything. He paused at the door, his hand on the knob. One night? Vess, this isn't about one night. This is about who you've become. The lying, the manipulation, the way you blame everyone else for your choices. This is about the fact that even now, caught red-handed, you're still trying to make this my fault. I'm not. You are. You always do. When you're late, it's because of traffic. When you're angry, it's because I don't appreciate you. When you cheat, it's because I drove you to it. Nothing is ever your responsibility. His words cut deep because they held a grain of truth I wasn't ready to acknowledge. Don't go, I whispered. Please, we can fix this. Can we? Because I don't see any remorse here, Vess. I see excuses. I see blame shifting. I see a woman who's more concerned about being caught than about what she's done to her family. He picked up his bag. I'll be back tomorrow to talk to Amelia. We need to figure out how to explain this to her. Explain what? You're the one leaving. You're the one breaking up our family. Nathan turned back to me, and for the first time, I saw real anger in his eyes. I'm not breaking up our family, Vess. You already did that. I'm just refusing to pretend it didn't happen. After he left, I called my mother, sobbing into the phone about Nathan's cruelty, his impossible standards, his refusal to forgive one mistake. He's being unreasonable, Mom said, her voice warm with sympathy. Men get like this when their pride is hurt. Give him time to cool down, then remind him what he stands to lose. You're a good wife, a good mother. He needs you more than you need him. Her words were exactly what I wanted to hear. Nathan was overreacting. He was punishing me for one night, one lapse in judgment. He'd come around when he realized what he was throwing away. But as I sat alone in our empty house, surrounded by the evidence of my betrayal, I couldn't shake the image of Nathan's face when he'd looked at me across that table, like he was seeing me clearly for the first time. And maybe, just maybe, he didn't like what he saw. The next 2 weeks were a special kind of hell. Nathan stayed at his mother's, coming by only to see Amelia or collect more of his things. He was polite but distant, treating me like a stranger who happened to share his address. At work, the rumors had crystallized into certainty. Bryce avoided me completely, and Karina had grown nervous about our association. The anonymous messages continued, Photos of Nathan moving his belongings, screenshots of my social media posts, reminders that someone was always watching. I tried to maintain normalcy for Amelia's sake, but she wasn't stupid. She asked why Daddy wasn't sleeping at home, why Mommy cried in the bathroom, why Grandma Joan looked so angry when she picked her up for school. Daddy and I are just taking a break, I told her, using the same words my mother had suggested. Sometimes grown-ups need space to figure things out. Like when I need space from Emma when she's being mean. Something like that, sweetheart. But it wasn't like that at all. This wasn't a playground spat that would blow over. This was my life disintegrating piece by piece while I watched helplessly. Thursday afternoon, I was waiting in the school pickup line when Nathan appeared at my passenger door. He slid in without invitation, his face grim. "We need to talk about custody arrangements," he said without preamble. "Custody? Nathan, we're not divorced. We're not even separated officially." "Aren't we? I haven't lived at home in 2 weeks. I think that qualifies." I gripped the steering wheel tighter. "This is temporary. You're being dramatic." "Am I? Because from where I sit, you're still lying. Still making excuses. Still refusing to take responsibility for what you've done." "I've apologized." "No, you haven't. Not once. You've explained, you've justified, you've blamed me, but you've never actually said you're sorry." The accusation stung because it was true. Every conversation we'd had ended with me defending myself, explaining my motivations, pointing out his failures as a husband. I'd never simply said the words, "I'm sorry." "I am sorry," I said now. "Are you? Sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught?" Before I could answer, Amelia came running toward the car, backpack bouncing. Nathan got out to hug her, and I watched through the windshield as my daughter's face lit up at seeing her father. When had she stopped looking at me like that? "Can Daddy come home tonight?" she asked as we drove away. Nathan was following us in his car, another new development. He no longer trusted me alone with our daughter. "Not tonight, baby," I said. "Why not? I miss him." "I know, I miss him too." But did I? Or did I just miss the security he represented? The life I'd taken for granted? That evening, while Nathan helped Amelia with homework, I retreated to our bedroom and called Karina. She answered on the 4th ring, her voice cautious. "Hey, Vess." "Hey, want to grab drinks? I need to get out of this house." "I can't tonight. I have plans." "Tomorrow, then." A pause. "Vess, maybe we should take a break from hanging out for a while." The rejection hit harder than I'd expected. "What? Why?" "Because this whole thing with you and Bryce is getting messy. People are talking, and I don't want to get caught up in it." "You're my friend." "I am. That's why I'm telling you to lay low for a while. Let things cool down." After she hung up, I stared at my phone in disbelief. Karina was abandoning me too. The woman who'd encouraged my flirtation with Bryce, who'd covered for me during the conference, who'd pushed me to prioritize my own happiness over my marriage. Now that there were consequences, she was nowhere to be found. I went downstairs to find Nathan reading Amelia a bedtime story. They were cuddled together on the couch, her head on his shoulder, both of them lost in the tale of a brave princess who saved herself. "Can you stay until I fall asleep?" Amelia asked when the story ended. "Of course, sweetheart." I followed them upstairs, watching Nathan tuck our daughter into bed with the same careful attention he brought to everything. He kissed her forehead, adjusted her nightlight, and promised to see her tomorrow. In the hallway, he paused. "I'll be by Saturday morning to take her to soccer practice." "Nathan, we need to talk about this. Really talk. Not about custody or arrangements, but about us." He looked at me for a long moment. "What about us, Vess?" "About fixing this. About our marriage." "What marriage? The one where you sleep with other men and then blame me for driving you to it?" "It was one night. It was a choice, a series of choices. And every conversation we've had since then has convinced me that you'd make the same choices again if you thought you could get away with it." His words were like ice water. That's not true. Isn't it? You're not sorry you betrayed me, Vess. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry there are consequences. But you're not sorry you did it. He started toward the stairs, then turned back. I want you to know that I tried. These past 2 weeks, I've been trying to find a way back to you. Some sign that the woman I married was still in there somewhere. But all I see is someone who lies reflexively, who manipulates every conversation, who takes no responsibility for her actions. Nathan, I'm done, Vess. I'm filing for separation tomorrow, and I'm asking for primary custody of Amelia. The words hit me like a physical blow. You can't. She's my daughter. She's our daughter, and she deserves better than a mother who teaches her that betrayal is acceptable as long as you have good reasons. He left me standing in the hallway, my world crumbling around me. Through Amelia's door, I could hear her soft breathing, unaware that her life was about to change forever. I sank to the floor, finally understanding that this wasn't a fight I could win with words. Nathan wasn't going to forgive me, wasn't going to forget, wasn't going to give me another chance. For the first time since this whole mess began, I was truly alone. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning, exactly 3 weeks after my night with Bryce. White, official, delivered by courier. I signed for it with trembling hands, already knowing what it contained. Petition for legal separation and child custody. The words swam before my eyes as I read Nathan's formal request to end our marriage and gain primary custody of Amelia. Attached were exhibits, the hotel records, phone logs, photographs, witness statements, my entire betrayal documented in legal terminology. At the bottom, a note from Nathan's lawyer requesting my presence at a mediation meeting Friday afternoon. I called my mother, sobbing into the phone. "He can't do this," I cried. "He can't take Amelia away from me." "Honey, calm down," Mom said. "Men threaten all sorts of things when they're angry. He's trying to scare you into begging for forgiveness. Don't give him the satisfaction." But when I called 3 lawyers that afternoon, their assessments were grimmer than Mom's optimism. "Adultery cases are difficult," the 3rd lawyer explained, "especially when there's documented evidence and concerns about the child's welfare. Your husband has a strong case." "Concerns about Amelia's welfare? I'm a good mother." "I'm sure you are. But the court will consider the impact of your actions on the family unit. The lying, the deception, the public nature of the affair, it all speaks to character." Character. The word followed me home, echoing in my empty house. Thursday night, Nathan came by to pack more of his belongings. I watched from the kitchen doorway as he methodically filled boxes with his books, his clothes, pieces of our life together. "The mediation is tomorrow," I said. "I know." "I don't want to fight you in front of lawyers." He paused in his packing. "Then don't fight. Accept responsibility for what you've done, and let's figure out what's best for Amelia." "What's best for Amelia is having both her parents together." "Is it? Because I'm not sure. Exposing her to a marriage built on lies and resentment is healthy for anyone." I wanted to argue, to point out his flaws, to make him share the blame, but something in his tone stopped me. He sounded tired, defeated, like he'd already grieved for our marriage and moved on. "I never meant for this to happen," I whispered. "I know, but it did happen. And now we have to live with the consequences." Friday afternoon found me sitting across from Nathan in a sterile conference room, our lawyers flanking us like seconds in a duel. Nathan looked composed, professional in his navy suit. I felt exposed despite my careful outfit choice. His lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Chen, laid out their position with surgical precision. "Mr. Rook is seeking legal separation based on irreconcilable differences, specifically citing adultery and abandonment of marital duties. He's requesting primary physical custody of the minor child, with supervised visitation for Mrs. Rook." "Supervised?" I gasped. "I'm not a danger to my daughter." "The concern," Patricia continued, is Mrs. Rook's pattern of deceptive behavior and poor judgment. The affair was conducted while she was responsible for representing her family at a work function. She's shown no remorse for her actions and has consistently blamed others for her choices. My lawyer, a kind but overmatched man named Robert Torres, shuffled through his papers. My client acknowledges that mistakes were made, but one incident of infidelity doesn't negate 10 years of marriage or her fitness as a mother. Patricia slid a thick folder across the table. One incident. Inside were more photos, more phone records, more evidence. Not just of my night with Bryce, but of a pattern I hadn't realized was so visible. Late nights, unexplained absences, lies about where I'd been and who I'd been with. Mrs. Rook has been conducting an emotional affair for months, Patricia said. The physical aspect was simply the culmination of a longer betrayal. I stared at the evidence of my deception, seeing it through Nathan's eyes for the first time. The careful documentation of every lie, every manipulation, every moment I'd chosen my desires over my family's welfare. Nathan, I said, ignoring the lawyers, please, we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can... Vez. His voice was gentle but firm. Look at me. I met his eyes across the table. Do you love me? The question caught me off guard. Of course I do. Do you? Or do you love the security I represent? The life we've built? The idea of being married? I opened my mouth to protest, but the words wouldn't come. Because somewhere in the past few weeks, I'd realized that what I missed most wasn't Nathan himself, but the safety net he provided. The comfortable life, the social status, the financial security. I thought so, he said quietly. Vess, I loved you. I loved the woman you were when we met, the woman you were when Amelia was born. But that woman has been disappearing for years, replaced by someone I don't recognize, someone who lies reflexively, who manipulates every situation, who takes no responsibility for her actions. That's not fair, isn't it? Even now, you're not apologizing. You're not asking how you can make this right. You're telling me it's not fair, like you're the victim here. Patricia placed another document on the table. Custody agreement. Mr. Rook gets primary physical custody. Mrs. Rook gets supervised visitation every other weekend until she completes counseling and demonstrates behavioral changes. I read the terms through blurry eyes. My daughter, my life, reduced to legal terminology and visiting schedules. I won't sign this, I said. Then we'll see you in court, Patricia replied, where all of this becomes public record, where Amelia's classmates' parents can read about her mother's affair in the local paper, where your daughter has to testify about the impact of your choices on her emotional well-being. The threat was clear. Sign now, quietly, or face public humiliation and potentially worse terms. I looked at Nathan one last time, searching for some softness, some hint of the man who'd once loved me enough to propose in our college library. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm truly sorry. I know you are, he said, but sorry doesn't undo the damage, Vess. Sorry doesn't rebuild trust. Sorry doesn't change the fact that when you had a choice between your family and your desires, you chose your desires. I signed the papers with shaking hands, each signature feeling like a small death. My marriage, my daily access to my daughter, my comfortable life, all gone because of one night I'd convinced myself I deserved. As we left the building, Nathan paused on the steps. For what it's worth, he said, I hope you find whatever it was you were looking for. I hope it was worth it. He walked away, leaving me standing alone in the afternoon sun, holding copies of documents that had just destroyed my life. That night, I sat in my empty house, staring at my phone. Bryce's number was still in my contacts, though we hadn't spoken since that day in his office. I could call him, tell him what his moment of fun had cost me. But what would be the point? He'd moved on. Karina had abandoned me. My family was divided. Nathan was gone. I'd gotten exactly what I'd thought I wanted: excitement, passion, someone who made me feel alive. But in reaching for it, I'd lost everything that actually mattered. The house felt like a mausoleum, filled with the ghosts of the life I'd thrown away. Amelia's toys in the living room, Nathan's coffee mug still in the sink, wedding photos on the mantel that now seemed like evidence from someone else's life. I'd spent weeks blaming everyone else, Nathan for being distant, Bryce for using me, Karina for encouraging me. But sitting there in the ruins of my marriage, I finally understood what Nathan had been trying to tell me. This was my fault, my choices, my consequences. And unlike every other mistake I'd made in my adult life, this one couldn't be explained away, justified, or blamed on someone else. I destroyed my family for one night with a man who'd forgotten my name by morning, and now I had to live with that truth for the rest of my life.